A cold metallic voice echoes through the airport speakers. Final boarding call for Flight 828 to New York. The camera pans across tired faces, rushing footsteps and flickering lights. And there she stands, Amara Johnson, a quiet woman with eyes full of strength and pain. She isn't just waiting for a flight, she's waiting for justice. Tonight, inside that airplane, the world will see what silence can do when it finally decides to speak. The airport hums with its usual chaos, the smell of coffee, rolling suitcases, people running late. Amara, a 35-year-old black woman in a navy blue coat, sits calmly at gate 47. She's a writer, returning home after a long trip where her latest article, The Color of Respect, has caused waves online. Across the gate, a man in a gray suit keeps glancing her way. His name is Richard Hale, mid-50s, a powerful corporate executive. He scrolls through his phone, reading hateful comments under an article that criticizes his company for discrimination. And right there, he realizes who wrote it. Amara. Their eyes meet. His glare could cut steel. Hers doesn't move. As passengers line up, Amara steps forward with her boarding pass. Richard is right behind her. When the flight attendant greets her, Richard interrupts loudly. You might want to double-check her seat. People like her tend to cause trouble. The attendant freezes. People glance up. Amara simply breathes in, smiles slightly, and walks on. But that sentence burns in the air. Inside the cabin, Amara sits by the window, seat 14A. Richard sits across the aisle in 14C. Fate, it seems, loves irony. The engines roar. The cabin lights dim. Through the window, the city disappears into the clouds. A small girl beside Amara whispers to her mother, Mom, why did that man talk mean to the lady? The mother hushes her, embarrassed. But Amara turns, smiles at the child, and says softly, Some people fear what they don't understand. Richard shifts uncomfortably. An hour into the flight, dinner is served. Amara types on her laptop, editing a piece titled, Power at 30,000 feet. Richard leans over. Writing another story about people like me? She looks up, calm. No, this one's about people who still believe they're above others. He smirks. Typical. You people always play the victim. Amara closes her laptop slowly. If you saw what we carry, you'd call it survival, not victimhood. The passengers nearby pretend not to listen, but every word lands heavy. Suddenly, the plane shakes violently. Gasps fill the cabin. The pilot's voice crackles. Please fasten your seatbelts. We're entering rough air. Richard panics. His drink spills. Amara grabs his arm, steady, reassuring. Their eyes lock again. For the first time, there's no hate in his, only fear. And in hers, forgiveness. After minutes of shaking, the plane stabilizes. Everyone exhales. Richard mutters, barely audible, Thank you. Amara nods. We all need someone to hold on to sometimes. As calm returns, Amara looks out the window. And we enter her memory. A little girl at a school desk, a teacher accusing her of cheating because her score was too high, a store clerk following her around, a promotion denied, her father's words echoing, Never fight anger with anger. Fight it with dignity. Back in the present, her eyes glisten. He whispers, Dignity. The one thing they can't take. As the plane begins its descent, Richard speaks again. Quieter, almost human. I read your article. I didn't agree. But maybe I didn't want to. Amara replies, The truth doesn't need agreement, just acknowledgement. A pause. Then the pilot announces, Welcome to New York. Passengers clap softly. At baggage claim, Richard walks toward her, hesitant. Listen, about earlier. She stops him gently. You don't have to explain. Just do better when it matters. He nods, ashamed. As she turns to leave, he calls out, Ms. Johnson, your words hit harder than you think. Amara smiles faintly, pulling her suitcase toward the sliding doors. Outside, the night wind feels like freedom. In the taxi, she opens her laptop. The title of her new article appears on screen. The Flight of Dignity, A Journey Above Prejudice. She begins to type as her voice narrates. Maybe change doesn't start in the streets or the courts. Maybe it starts somewhere between the clouds, where fear loses control and humanity finally takes the pilot's seat. The camera pans up, through the city lights into the sky, where another plane ascends, glowing in the dawn. Sometimes the most powerful battles in life aren't fought with fists. They're fought with grace. Amara didn't raise her voice when she was insulted. She didn't fight back with anger. She chose dignity, and that choice changed everything. In a world that still divides people by the color of their skin, the size of their bank accounts, or the name they carry, Amara's silence spoke louder than any argument. She reminded us that true strength isn't about shouting the truth. It's about living it. Richard's arrogance came from ignorance. But when turbulence shook that airplane, it shook something deeper, his heart. And in that moment, he saw her not as a color, not as a name, but as a human being. That's where change begins. Not in speeches, not in politics, but in small human moments. When one person decides to respond to hate with calm, to prejudice with patience, and to disrespect with dignity, every one of us at some point in life will face that test. Someone will judge you for how you look, where you come from, or what you believe. And you'll have two choices: to react with anger or to rise with grace. Amara chose to rise. And in doing so, she didn't just change one man. She changed the flight itself. She turned a moment of humiliation into a moment of awakening. So the next time life puts you in a seat of turbulence, remember, you can't control the weather outside, but you can always control the calm inside. Dignity is not weakness. It's power in its purest form. The kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't hit, doesn't hate, but heals. Because in the end, no matter where we sit, aisle, window, or middle, we're all on the same flight, the flight of humanity.